We are not doctors. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as medical advice. Consult your physician before starting any workout routine. This is the Martial Heart Podcast.
Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Martial Heart Podcast. I am your host, and today I am going to be interviewing someone who went through his own cardiac ordeal and is currently continuing his martial arts journey. And it's David Meese. I just met David Meese through a Facebook group yesterday, and we decided to sit down and talk. And if you may see us grin now and then, because this isn't the first time David and I spoke on Zoom, because we did it yesterday and some dumbass neglected to record it. And I think that would be me, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't David's fault. Somehow I screwed that up. So we're doing it again. So hello, David. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Russ. Thanks for having me on. I'm Dave Meese. I've been training jiu-jitsu for about 13 years. First degree black belt. I first had my cardiac event like in 2014. So it's been just about 10 years, a little over 10 years on the other side of it. And I mean, I feel pretty good. So
now you were in jiu-jitsu when your heart attack happened, right? I mean, that's where you were when yes, you were.
Yeah, regular Saturday morning open mat.
Yep. And you were a blue belt at the time.
Yeah.
And let's see. When tell us how yesterday you explained how everybody reacted when it happened at the gym. So go ahead and tell that story. I mean, how did your professor and those around you deal with? Wait, let me first ask this: were you like the first time they'd had a heart attack in their gym during class?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So how'd that go for them?
Well, so most of the time I've been there, I've been the oldest person on the mat, by far. We have a few older people now, but I'm still the oldest guy in the room. So, it's really, in those early years, it was really nothing for me to be training with people that, were young enough or old enough, I guess, to be my kids.
Yeah.
I started when I was 45. So, rolling with a 20-year-old, that's completely believable that they were, rolling with people that were my kids' age.
Yeah.
So it was a regular Saturday morning open mat. I was rolling with a rather large, a 300-pound, 16-year-old kid who was a judo black belt. So he had a fairly decent ground game, and he smashed me for the whole round. So I decided to take a rest round after that, and I just couldn't get my wind back. I kind of laying on the side of the mat, laying against the wall, and just trying to get my breath back. And the whole round went by, nothing. So like, well, maybe I need to take 2 rest rounds. Whole another round went by, nothing. And my professor was asking, hey, are you okay? And you probably need to call somebody. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I just need to get my wind back. And after probably about 10 minutes, I kind of gave in and said, oh, okay, man, you got to call somebody.
Yeah.
So they got the gym's about a mile, maybe less than a mile from the fire station. So, the firemen were the first responders there. They said, yeah, you're kind of having a heart attack. Nothing much we can do really right now until the paramedics get here. I'm like, oh, great. That's cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Now those were the firefighters came, and then the ambulance came. So how long did that take? before you
I
actually
mean, you
had
know
some help?
how time compression works and everything. It
Yeah.
probably seemed like hours, but it was probably
Right.
only a few minutes.
Okay.
Um, Paramedics got there, and I think like my biggest concern was that they weren't, and I didn't want them to cut my gi pants off because this is like my favorite gi.
Yeah. We talked about that yesterday, but yeah, tell them about your gi pants because that's an important thing to
Yeah.
cover is, you
So
don't want your gi destroyed.
yeah. I'm thinking to myself, they're gonna cut my gi pants off. So I don't want that. So I stood up, took my gi pants off, and stripped down to my skivvies and hopped back on the gurney. And they just thought I was insane for doing that. But I
They
mean,
probably weren't the only ones.
yeah, probably not.
Yeah. But
Um, I
no,
actually,
that's important.
I actually got a little quarter-page article in Jiu Jitsu magazine for that.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, somebody
Oh,
somebody submitted that.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah. I didn't even know such a thing was out there, a magazine
yeah.
that would cover things like that. Now you during this time, from the time you felt it coming on until you're, let's say, until you're in the ambulance with the paramedics, did you feel any change in your condition, or was it pretty much the same the whole time?
No, it started out with just not being able to get my breath, and then it was just just this heaviness on my chest, um, and it intensified and got more and more and more and more, and eventually it got to where there was um, like numbness and pain shooting out my jaw and shooting down my arm, and then it got like unbearable pain.
Did you have, like when I had mine, I had pain shoot down both arms, and
No, I didn't.
that's not what we were told. Like when I
Yeah.
was, you know,
No, definitely the left arm. Definitely for sure the left
yeah.
arm, and then up into my jaw, and
Hmm.
like, but the jaw wasn't really pain. It was just like tingling. You know how, like when you get dental work and you're like everything's starting to wear off,
Yeah, yeah,
and it just you can feel it, but it's numb and tingly. That's what it felt like
yeah.
in my jaw.
Okay. Yeah, you have these symptoms that I don't know, we learn on TV or we learn from, medics when we're, going through military training for first aid and stuff about a heart attack. And it's always a pain in the chest and pain shooting down the left arm. And so when it shot down both of my arms, I'm like, well, obviously this isn't a heart attack because
Yeah,
I got
this
both
is
arms
something
broken.
else. Yeah,
It's got to be something else, unless I have two hearts. So yeah, that's what it was. I was confused a lot whenever mine was happening because I'm like, this isn't anything like, what they say a heart attack is going to be like. Because mine was just like really bad heartburn that came up my throat and into my jaw. I had that burning sensation. But yeah, shooting down both arms was the thing that fooled me. I'm like, I have no idea what would do that other than a pinched nerve like in my neck or something. So, but that wasn't the end for you, was it?
no,
You
not at
wound
all.
up at the hospital. You're at the hospital, and your was it your coach's wife called your
Yeah,
wife?
yeah. So, so she called my wife and said, "Hey, you should probably head down to the hospital. They're taking Dave down there in the ambulance." But she didn't tell her anything other than that. Just like, so she was kind of walking in there blind, and I think she's probably thinking in her head, "Oh, well, the idiot broke his arm or
Yeah.
broke his leg or something doing jujitsu. So get on there and drive him home." Uh, but when she got down there, the the cardiologist actually like met her at the door and like it's okay, he's having a heart attack but he got here really fast, like he told her all the stuff about the golden hour and all that, and he got here really fast, so we're going to take care of him. And so he brought her in to see me, and like the first thing that she said was, "Hey, don't you leave me," and pointed her finger at me, and then I flatlined right in that moment.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That's like cinematic timing right
I know,
there.
right? Yeah. Yeah, I paid for that one later.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because that's something she's never gonna forgive you for, I'm sure. But
yeah. Well, we'd only been married like 6 weeks, so
yeah, that
I
was
almost made her a bride and a widow in the same month.
yeah, that's I feel so bad for her, but she must be a strong one too to have gone through all that with you and
Yeah, for sure,
still be around.
for sure.
But now you mentioned the golden hour. So talk about that. Tell us what that means, what you're talking
So I
about,
think
the golden hour.
statistically, the doctors say, when you have any kind of a heart attack or stroke, if you can get to the hospital within the first hour, your chances of survival they they increase dramatically.
Yeah.
And I think I think that goes beyond. I'm not sure. I'm not a medical professional, but I think that goes beyond heart attacks and strokes too. I think it's any kind of trauma. If you
Yeah.
get to a trauma center within the first hour, your chances of
Okay.
survival just go way up.
All right. Yeah, I didn't follow that because I waited and waited and waited a few hours. So I got yelled at by the doctor. But okay, so you flatline. So obviously you don't know what's going on. But
No,
when you find out later, when do you wake up? What's going on when you wake up?
so I woke up probably this happened Saturday, probably around 1 in the afternoon, and I wake up Sunday evening, late Sunday evening, and they're pulling a Foley catheter out of me, which is not a fun way to wake up.
Oh, I guess not.
Um,
Yeah.
and my wife told me that as soon as I flatlined, they yanked her out of there, and um, I guess the chaplain at the hospital pulled her aside.
Oh, that's fun.
Um, so a great big guy
Oh,
jumped up on the table and started giving me chest compressions, and she just completely freaked out and
I
lost it.
bet. Yeah. I think
But I
anybody
guess they
would.
did the CPR, and I think they shocked me and got me back, got me up to the cath lab, and started working on it.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, my friend Ed, when he had a cardiac arrest, I did an interview with him, and that's going to be posted eventually. But he didn't know that they shocked him until he felt like burning on his skin, on his chest.
Oh
And he
yeah,
was like, "Oh,
yeah. There's burns.
what's burning me?" He's like, "Something burned me." And they're like, "Yeah, that's the zapper." And he's like, "Holy
Yeah,
crap, it's that violent." But
yeah.
it
It's like a
left
sunburn.
burns. Yeah,
It's like a pretty nasty sunburn.
yeah. That was how he found out that they had to zap him and bring him back. But so okay, they went in with a cath. Did they do the stent right then, or was that their exploratory
So,
thing that time?
well, I had two blockages. So one of them was relatively easy to get to, so they did that one. But the other one, I guess because of my anatomy, it's really weird. It took them about 3.5 hours of poking and prodding around, uh, and they couldn't find it. So they pulled out and um, came back later to do the second stent.
Okay.
They gave me the clot buster medications and broke up all the blood clots and stuff. So it was a little more clear. But
Okay. Um, so did they found other clots, or were they just trying to prevent them from
so I
happening?
had one blockage that was fully blocked on 100%,
Okay.
and then the other one was 95%. So
All right.
they cleared the 100% blockage on the first go round, and they didn't want to take the chances with the 95% blockage, so they made me stay in the hospital and
Yeah.
stay in bed for what 4 or 5 days until I go
Yeah.
back into the other one.
Yeah. They had me on that IV of whatever that Halperin or something, a
Heparin,
blood
yeah,
thinner, heparin. Yeah. And
yeah.
laying in that bed, holy crap, I hated it. But now, once they did your first stint, did you feel better, or were you still like kind of screwed
I
up
was pretty
after that?
sore.
Yeah.
I was kind of all over body sore just from the trauma, and of course my ribs and my chest were sore from the CPR.
Right. Yeah.
Thankfully they didn't break any ribs.
Yeah.
Thank
Because
God they didn't break any ribs because
that's not a gentle process. No,
no, it's
doing
it's it's
CPR on
really
somebody.
it's really not unusual at all to break ribs doing
Right.
CPR if you're doing it
Yeah.
right. If you're
Yeah.
doing it right, you're probably going to break ribs.
Yeah.
So I was pretty sore from that. Um, and then just, of course, laying around in bed, movement is lubrication. So you're laying around in bed for a week, that doesn't help anything at all.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you're in there for like a week after that, and then they finally do go in and you get that second stint in.
Yeah.
And then how long after that before you get to go home and get out of that stupid bed?
Yeah, that's a funny story because at the time I had my heart attack, that H1N1 flu was going around, and people were actually dying from that. And I think so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, in the 6 days that I was up in the cardiac ward, like 3 people died of the H1N1 flu up there.
Whoa.
So um, as soon as we were done, with that second cath procedure on Thursday, I told my wife, "Hey, you got to get me out of here because I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna survive a heart attack and then go down from the sniffles."
Yeah. Yeah. That was a weird thing for me in the cardiac ward when I was there, because several times I kept hearing them, call out, "There's code blue, cardiac, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, that's just like down the hallway from me. There's people dying right now. And that made me kind of uncomfortable. But yeah, I think there was 3. Of course, that was just cardiac issues. And I don't know what happened after that, but it's a little unnerving when you're laying there and they're calling out code blue and you're wondering if it's you, but you're not sure.
Yeah. So did you have any kind of experience where you kind of maybe lost consciousness, anything, or at any time? Or?
No, I didn't actually lose consciousness. I almost did. I described it to my friends as it felt like tapping out like about 1 second before you go to sleep. You know what I mean? Like you wait till the very last second to tap when someone's got you in a rear naked choke.
So you kind of start to hear the Matrix a little bit.
Yeah. Things are a little getting weird, getting a little psychedelic. And then you're like, oh crap, I better tap. And, so I never actually went out. But for me, my heart rate kept dropping. My blood pressure and my heart rate kept dropping really low, dangerously low. And it would set off alarms and things like that until they went in with the cath and started straightening things out. But no, I would get like, I don't know, the only way I can describe it is buzzy. Like it was like my brain was swimming around inside my head or something. My eyes couldn't focus. And so it was like right on the verge of going out, and then it would just pass and I would come back. So I was lucky I didn't pass out, but
that's wild.
Yeah. So you get home and they're going to do this cardiac rehab for you, just like they do for most people. They recommend it for everyone, but not everyone does it because it's a voluntary thing. And you jump in there, and how long, and I only bring this up, I'm going to shoot right to it, because how long were you in cardiac rehab before you went back to the gym?
So I got home on a Friday, and my dad came to visit, or came to help out around the house while I was down, and I talked him into driving me up to open mat Saturday morning, and we both had to swear to my wife that I was just going to go up there and watch, and she double checked and made sure I didn't have a gi with me or anything, and I was in street clothes.
Yeah.
But I went up there and watched, and then I started into cardiac rehab. I got really lucky that the company I worked for, they gave me 12 weeks of paid sick leave. So I took advantage of every minute of that. I called my boss and asked him, what's the very last day you're going to pay me?
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I'll see you the next day after that." So I took every minute of that 12 weeks.
Yeah, that's fantastic that they did that for you. It really is.
I think I went back to training after about 6 weeks.
Yeah, 6 weeks. So and that's my debate, because I'm starting week 3 of cardiac rehab, and so far they don't want me to get my heart rate above about 101, 102.
Yeah, that's really frustrating, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Because you're used to, if you're used to training, and if you're used to, you know, even at a deficiency with blockages in your arteries, you're still used to getting your heart rate up and
Yeah.
working, and you're
Yeah.
used to that feeling. And then it's just like, this, what is this doing? What is it even
Yeah.
accomplishing? Just
Yeah.
walking on a treadmill.
A few episodes ago, I went on this wild rant about how walking doesn't do a goddamn thing for you. Unless you're an invalid and you can't walk, walking will help you learn how to walk. But if you can
Yeah,
already walk, all you're doing is maintaining the ability to walk.
yeah.
So if you want to get strong, there's no strength without struggle, is my thing. That was my slogan for that episode.
That's
But
makes sense. Yeah,
yeah, because even with your brain, if you want your brain to grow and get stronger, you got to make it struggle. You got to try to
yeah.
learn new things, like how to pronounce some of the moves that you learn in jiu-jitsu. That's how you grow your brain in BJJ.
Right.
Trying to learn the names for things. So you were a blue belt when this happened to you, and you are now a first degree black belt.
Yep.
And how long did it take you? We'll just go with not how long it took you to get your black belt after that, but how long did it take you to feel like you were back? Like, really, I'm not just going to watch right now and I don't have to take it easy. I'm actually back and I'm going to do my thing.
Probably only about a week.
Really?
Yeah, it was terrifying coming back the first time, because it happened on the mats. So,
Right.
you know, when you're doing warm ups, you're just kind of constantly, self evaluating and checking your pulse, and
Right. Yeah.
making sure you're like,
Yeah.
nothing really hurts. This is okay. And then, when you get into drill and techniques, you're like, okay, well, I just kind of this kind of feels okay. And then, um, the test comes when you start, rolling at the end of class, and you're like, oh, well, we'll see how this goes. Let me take it easy. Let me find
Yeah.
somebody that I can trust that, let's go light. And then, just that natural progression. And, 3 or 4 classes into that, I don't know, week and a half, I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then I really kind of felt like, I felt like my cardio at that point was on a whole nother level, because you don't really understand how sick you are until you don't feel sick anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And then just kind of looking back on it, there was so many signs, before I had my heart attack, that I wasn't well. And
Yeah.
I just didn't ignore, just ignored them, and just thought, yeah, well, I'm old. That's what you feel like when you're,
Right.
45 or 46. Well, I guess I was 47 at the time. That's what you feel like when you're 47,
Yeah.
but it's not. It shouldn't be.
Yeah. No, I think I did too. I think I wrote off a lot of my symptoms as just being, I'm getting old, getting older, can't keep up anymore.
Yeah.
I'm 56. So, and I already had peripheral artery disease. So I already had stents in my lower half. And so now I have a matching set in the upper half. So, I knew there were some issues, but we were only aware of issues in my lower body because my right foot would start to go numb when I was training and stuff, particularly in karate class, jumping and kicking and doing all that stuff. So we figured that out after several months of trying to figure it out. But they did the calcification test on my heart, the CT, where they scan it and they look for calcification to see how much you're getting, blocked. And in my case, I didn't know the cardiology office was trying to call me after that, because I did that with my regular physician. And I guess the cardiologist tried to call me 3 times to schedule an appointment because they knew that things were not too great up there around my heart, but no one told me. And then while this was going on, the nurse came in and was just like checking boxes. And she's like, "Who's your cardiologist?" "I don't have one." She's, "What do you mean you don't have a cardiologist? You were recommended to go to a cardiologist back in November of last year." I'm like, I was? I have no idea. So yeah, if I had answered the phone, I didn't recognize the number. So I just never answered it. and they called 3 times, didn't leave a voicemail. So, but yeah, I guess I should have answered that phone call. So that's some advice for you. You should answer the phone
Right.
more often.
Answer the phone, right?
Yeah. And if your doctor says I'm going to recommend this, you should probably go. You should probably pay attention. But so when did you get your black belt?
So I got my black belt in September of 2021.
Okay. So it took you what,
7 years.
another 7 years after that. Now, how
Yeah.
often? Well, we'll go back in time. How often did you train back then, and how often do you train now?
I was training back then. I was training 4 or 5 days a week,
Yeah,
and now I'm down to three.
yeah. And you teach sometimes too, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I teach an over 40 class twice a week.
Okay. And did they do that to you on purpose? Like you're gonna teach the older people?
No, no. I mean, probably, but
Yeah,
it's just kind of that. It's a natural fit, you know.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. Like I'm always the oldest guy, just like you. I'm always the oldest person there. It took us going up to we went up and visited our parent gym from like our
Mhm.
the organization we're affiliated with, and that was the only place I'd been to so far that had someone older than me in it, and he was only older than me by like a year and a half. So every other time, like you said earlier, we're rolling with 20-year-olds and sometimes 18-year-olds and things like that in our 50s. And yeah, it can be a bit of a struggle, especially since everybody in our class seems to be bigger than me. So I did the dumbest thing. Like I went to a tournament back in, I guess it was 3 years ago now. But it's a one stripe white belt, and I was going to get like in the best shape I had been in a long time, right? So I'm like, I'm going to trim down. I'm going to get in my good fighting weight, and I'm going to fight the smaller guys. So I trimmed down. I was at about 170 when I decided I was going to start trimming down. And I trimmed down to about 155, 156. I was 160 in my gi, in this brand new blue gi. And so I go there and I'm 54 years old. So there was no division for me. There were, there were
Yeah,
only 5 people who were over 50,
yeah.
and all 5 of us were in different weight divisions.
That's
So
an expensive T-shirt, isn't it?
yeah, so they just threw us all in an absolute category and made us fight each other
Yeah,
and grapple each other. And it was fun, but I made myself the smallest guy in the group, because everybody else was over 200 pounds. So I had to, grapple with the big guys again, even though I went to all that effort to try and get the smaller guys.
yeah.
But
I'm not a big fan of cutting weight. Like unless you're ultra heavy and just right on the edge of, you know,
yeah,
right on the edge of 220. I'm not a big fan of cutting weight at all because
yeah,
I mean
I
it's
didn't do
just
anything like I didn't do like what a wrestler does when they're trying to cut weight.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
I spent about 6 months watching my diet. I went on to a keto diet, which probably not good at all for me at the time.
Yeah, probably not.
Because I wound up having the stents put in my lower body about 6 months after that. But so the exact wrong diet for someone with artery issues. But yeah, I spent about 6 months trimming down, working out extra, watching my diet. But yeah, I started going back up right after that.
Yeah.
But
So I think back in 2012, I think I was still a white belt. I got 4 stripe white belt. I entered a tournament. I think it was a new breed tournament down in Dallas, and I was just right on the verge of 220. So I effectively I didn't eat for a week, right?
yeah, right.
Uh, I didn't eat for a week, and I just starved myself and dehydrated myself. And I got to the tournament, and um, I'd weigh in on the practice scale and drink a little bit of water, and until I got up to the max weight, and then I'd you know come off the scale and go hang out and drink a little bit more water, and did that throughout the day. And I think my match was like the very last one of the day.
Yeah,
So I'm just exhausted. Stepped on the mat or stepped on the scale, the official scale, hit the number right on the dot, and then chugged a bottle of water, went on the mat, and I was so exhausted that the guy passed my guard, went into north south, and just cooked me there for the rest of the match. So it's
Yeah.
like I'm never doing this again. So
Yeah.
I think after that, it's just get on the computer, go to register. When it asks you what division, step on the scale, whatever it says, that's what you register for.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
way you can just live your life and eat and be normal.
Yeah. Just be a normal guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do that again. So actually, I might just try to get bigger. So, and then I'll fight the smaller guys.
Yeah.
But so okay, you've been through it, you've recovered from it, and you've succeeded in continuing with your martial arts journey. And what advice do you have for someone who might have a heart condition or went through a heart condition or some sort of serious illness? And what advice do you have for them as far as getting back into the swing of things, getting back to their art and back to the things they love?
Yeah.
And
First and foremost, listen to your doctor, right?
yeah,
For sure, listen to your doctor. If your doctor says, hey, you should probably do this or do that, take that advice seriously. They're probably almost always going to err on the side of caution because they're doctors and that's what they do. But then, use that input and balance, yourself better than anybody else. So use that input and balance what you know about yourself and figure out your way forward. But as far as training, and man, I'd give this advice to anybody, whether they had heart issues or whether they're just a normal older guy. Like, you're under no obligation whatsoever to roll with anybody you don't want to.
Yeah.
Right. Choose your training partners. You know who runs the biggest risk of injuring you. And it's no, it's no black mark against your ego to just say, hey, no thanks, I'm going to pass on this one.
Yeah.
And if they don't understand that, that's fine. Like, they don't have to.
Yeah, maybe they will when they get older.
Maybe they will. and that's okay. Like, it's really fine. Like, I'd so much rather like have somebody like look at me like, oh, what's wrong with him, than to like have to go through that ordeal again because
right.
I mean, who you can trust to train with.
Yeah. And that's, it only takes a couple of weeks of, rolling with everyone in the gym to go, yeah, this
Figure out
guy,
who to. Yeah.
I'm going to avoid this person over here,
Yep.
and I have some of those myself. I'm sure I am that person for other people. I don't know.
I'm sure I was too.
Yeah. I try not to be too much of a spaz, but I get excited. And
I think when you're new to the sport, it's inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, you really kind of have to have a healthy ego to even attempt jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
But everyone says, oh, leave your ego at the door and don't have an ego, and yeah, that's all well and good, but like, if you don't have an ego, you're not going to come back, right?
Yeah.
There's kind of two. I don't like the saying that jiu-jitsu is for everybody. It's not. It's really not. Right. It's for anybody, but it's not for everybody.
Right.
Okay. There's two kinds of people. The people that they get rolled up when they're first new and they're like, man, I don't like this. I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And there's the other kind of person is the person that's like, man, I don't like this. I got to figure out how to get on the other side of this.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that stay around, and those are the ones that I love to train with. Those guys, just the guys that just get really take it to heart and get in their heads about, how do I figure this out? I don't like this feeling, and I don't want to feel this way anymore.
Yeah, because it's a puzzle. You got to figure out that puzzle, like how to defeat that. And my first puzzle was, how do I get this big ass off of my chest so I can breathe? Yeah. So I paid to have a private lesson with our professor, who's a fourth degree, and just so he could teach me how to address pressure
Mhm.
because I was failing miserably and I was getting crushed by people even my own size. I couldn't understand how they were doing this.
Yeah. Well, I
So
bet he told you don't get there.
yeah,
Don't let
that
him
was
get
the
there.
first trick. Yeah, was how about don't be on the bottom all the
Yep.
time? How about that? But yeah, that was my first thing was because we have some big dudes, 250, 260,
Yeah, I'm 250, so
Yeah,
I
and
understand.
you would have been when I'm crushing my ass, and I would have been, I can't breathe, get up. I'm tapping just because I can't breathe. But that's life. That's what happens. But it's great that you've been able to get through that and continue on and be successful. I'm sure it's probably not going to be for everyone to jump back in and want to do that. And hey, if you don't feel comfortable getting back into it, that's fine too. My goal is to get back on the mat eventually and get back in there. So um, I am trying to just continue to find people who have done it and who can inspire me and other people and say, you know what, we can do this, even if we got to
Yeah.
slow down a little bit, even if we got to not try as hard and we can just roll with it, and but I think you got to stay in there. I think you do. I mean, what are you going to give up, do nothing, sit around and watch TV? If
No.
you're if you're a jujitsu guy or a regular martial arts guy at all, you can't do that. It's just never going to happen.
Like the hour or so that I spend on the mat is like the only pain-free hour of the day for me, really,
Yeah,
honestly. Shoulder pain, knee pain, back pain, you
yeah,
know, neck pain. Oh my God, the neck pain.
yeah. You feel it
Hopefully,
later.
hopefully that hadn't hit you yet, the neck pain, but I
I
don't think I've been
have.
able to turn my head all the way one way or the other in a decade.
Yeah, occasionally it gets me, but I've got bad knees, bad
Yeah.
shoulders. I got a bad hip, so and my lower back's been throwing itself in there lately. So yeah,
Yeah.
the joys of getting older.
The finger arthritis and the,
Oh yeah, yeah.
uh,
Like I my thumbs. I was talking to a younger guy I work with, and I was like, of all the things wrong with me, I never thought it would be my thumbs that
mhm.
hurt me the most when I was at work. But what are you gonna do? You got to keep going. Voltaren gel and Advil. I'm an
Yeah.
investor apparently because I use that stuff all the time. I probably use it more than I should. But I really appreciate you visiting with me, Dave, and doing the podcast.
Thanks,
And
Ross.
I'll put this together. I'm gonna have to cut this into probably 2 or 3 episodes, and we'll have a
For
part one,
sure.
two, and three. And I'll get it edited together. I'll let everybody know in the group when it gets posted. But yeah, if you run into anybody else who's been through this sort of crap that we've had to go through, send them my way. I'll talk to them too.
Absolutely.
But thanks
Absolutely.
for joining me. Best of luck to you, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me, Ross. It's been
All
a
right.
pleasure.
Have a good week.
You too, bud.